Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Friday Night Live. We're going to do another printable holographic sticker paper piece. I don't know, I kind of speculated that, or I don't know, threw out there that in one of my last pieces on this type of paper that it would be kind of cool to see some light beams running through it. I don't know if I've done that before, kind of my whatever masked off crepuscular ray type of technique. I thought that would be kind of interesting in this type of paper with all these different color patterns within the paper itself. If I've done that before, so be it. I'm going to do it again. All right, so what I need to do in order to apply certain types of colors onto this type of surface is I need to use a water-based medium in order to kind of create a foundation for these other imagery to be, I don't know, whatever, planted onto it and then colored, okay? Because one of the coloring mediums that I like to use on this type of paper are colored pencils. I think it makes a really fantastic combination with this really dynamic, ever-changing, whatever color scenario surface. Metallic. And I think it just pairs very well with the mellow, very soft types of color applications of colored pencils and whatever what that wax provides. Let's see how it goes. Hello, Bill, Sharita, and Linda. How are you? All right, so let's provide a foundation right here. Let's just get going right into it. And let's see what happens here. Let me see if I have a couple of these other cotton balls that I can still use. I kind of like the second use cotton ball when I'm applying this type of material. I think this is almost too dry though. It might be a little bit moist. Hard to believe it could be a little bit moist still from last week. 100% cotton ball, okay? And Brilliance white pigment ink, okay? So it's not like using an acrylic cotton ball. It takes forever to use those. They wick moisture, and you want some kind of material that's going to absorb moisture so that you have more to apply. And this is not an oil-based white pigment ink, which is just about every other pigment ink out there except for Brilliance. Okay, so just throwing that out there. There's certain types of materials that you can use across different types of surfaces, but this one's a pretty specific technique right here. I find it very easy to do, and this Brilliance ink, I can't stress enough just what a great type of medium this is, because it opens up the possibility. You can use it just like regular white pigment ink, okay? But it can be used on just about any type of surface, okay? It doesn't have to be an absorbent, porous one like your oil-based white pigment inks are, that require absorption and penetration of the surface in order for them to dry, okay? This is a water-based one, and it dries almost instantly on this type of surface because the surface is designed for water-based media. Specifically your home inkjet printer, but you can also use this type of white pigment ink on your foils, okay? It doesn't have to be holographic, but just in any type of foil. It'll dry on them, but you just have to spray seal them. On this, it dries, and you do not need to spray seal. Hello, Caroline, how are you? Hope everyone's having a nice week. If you're in the US, we have the Thanksgiving coming up. Hope everyone's ready for that. I was at Costco on Monday, and I thought, oh my God. I was there like at, like noon or something like that. No, it was like closer to 1 actually. 12:45, 1 p.m. And that parking lot was filled up all the way to the like the extremes. I thought, oh, Thanksgiving coming up. All right, what I'm doing right now is I'm kind of creating a foundation for these tree trunks that I'm going to put in here. So this is going to be like the forest floor type of thing. All right, now here's the thing. I'm going to apply some of these larger tree trunks in here. I'm going to just use the art foam use just to get some larger scale ones in here, just so I can really push depth. This one's a really huge one right here. But, okay, where I'm going to stamp this out, I need to get a little bit of a bearing on where those are going to go. I could just, like, ink it up a little bit and give myself a little impression there, you know, so I can tell, you know, where to fill in the white pigment ink in back of there. I think I want this one clear on the end here, like this. So a couple of choices, like I said, I could print something out there. Just, yeah, like a small line, I can ink it up a little bit, or I can just go like this, and I'll just give myself a little bit of a line there that I can kind of barely see, but, you know, you don't need to see it that clearly. And I'll fill this whole area in right here, because if I just print this stamp alone right there, if I want to shade it with some additional colored pencil coloring on there, it's not going to stick to this. So I need a foundation of this white pigment ink that'll provide the foundation that you can color with colored pencils, okay? All right. You guys all know this stuff, but you know, I'm speaking to someone that hasn't seen this technique before, and I need to throw in all of the, whatever the little detailed types of remarks, just in case someone comes upon this and, you know, it's like, okay, I'm going to just use my Hero Arts white pigment ink and diversifying Clair on this type of, for a black pigment ink or something like that. And then suddenly it's like, nothing's working. And that's when you get these comments online. It says, hey, I tried that out, and he makes it look so much easier than it really is. Well, on a material like this, you just have to use the right, the right materials or something. It would be almost like someone substituting, instead of using cardstock or something like that, they use, I did it on a piece of glass and it didn't work, or something like that, with dye-based inks. For cooking, I don't know, I substituted sugar instead of salt, it's white granular. All right. So there's that one tree right there. Let me see, there's my line there. I need to go a little bit closer to that line. This is all the easy part. Okay, so this is all lumpy and not applied really smoothly. It's blobby. Not going to matter, like, at all. Okay, well, one of the things I want to do in here is I want to create kind of a light source in here with some beaming light through there. I'm kind of figuring out if I want to add in like some of those ripped, torn paper towel types of techniques on here. Or if I do that, am I blocking off too much of it where you're not going to be able to see the light beams in here? So that's kind of the big question that I had. Whatever in this particular scenario, so I'll be figuring it out here. All right, let's go with this one right here-ish. Okay. Hello, Nicole. How are you? All right, my brain's a little bit frazzled if I'm saying hi to people like double. Forgive me. I was doing stuff with my, taking care of some of the things in my mother's trust today. And my mindset was on that. And then when I finished that up, I was going and I was about to ask my wife, hey, what do you want to have for dinner tonight? She says, I don't know. Aren't you doing, the live stream? It's like, oh, my God, that was Friday today. So it's like, okay, let's just do that thing that I was thinking about last week during the that was that the full page holographic that I did last week. I can't remember. I think I did the this other vellum piece. I think that was like on a Monday or something like that. That one was really fun with the hammock, grill and hammock. All right, so look at that. We have our kind of framed off piece right there. And I'll have another tree like in here, if not a couple of them. But I won't block off everything. The whole point of using this type of paper is that so we have some of that holographic showing through. And I do. One of the things about this is when I have my lights on in this room, you can't really see some of the holographics because there's so much light glaring off of this. But one of the things I noticed on my piece from last week, let me show you guys that. This is the one from last week. Okay, now you can't see a lot of the holographics showing through. I mean, I see this big glare in here, but a lot more colors show up in here in this type of pattern, and it's a muted one. But if I don't have all these studio lights flashing on here, just under normal lighting, if I go like this, I can see a lot more of that star pattern and colored holographic in here, which is the thing I wanted in a, snowy type of scenario. It's like the light kind of, shimmering on some snow, reflective snow. So that being said, there's going to be a lot more color showing through in these areas, which I kind of like, but it's kind of muted out from the layers of this white pigment ink on top. And then there's going to be some colored pencils applied to it, and additional, paint pens and things like that. Hello, Cynthia. You can preach to the choir. We don't mind at all. All right, let's see here. Okay, so if you just joined in, this tree is going here. This one is going right here. That's why we've blocked out the back so that I can add in some shadow work and color into these impressions that are going to be laid down here. This tree right here, I need to have some extra trees in here so that I can kind of weave the light beams that are going to be added in here. I like going in front of some trees and in back of the other trunk, so you kind of weave the beam. I find that to be a lot more dynamic than just going straight across everything uniformly like that. Okay. He forgot to put the eggs in. I've been making chocolate chip cookies lately. And just rolling the dough. One of the things I've been doing is I'm just kind of rolling the dough into balls and I'm just throwing it in the fridge so that, instead of baking up the whole batch, you just eat those chocolate chip cookies with like a side of eggs then. Would that be the same thing? Linda? Okay, here we go. I'm going to see if I can get this here. Okay, I'm not going to try to do this completely here, but okay, let me do this. Let me take a little bit of a... This is my solution right here. I can't just outline this right here. I guess I could get a little bit of the exterior of where this tree is going to go. And this is all going all the way up to the edge of this. It's not going to the design itself, but and you have a little bit of the gist of where these two trunks are going to be on the perimeter like that. But this center one, I think I better do this right here. Let's go about like right there, a little bit higher up than the other ones on the horizon. So what I'm doing is I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm just coloring in a little bit of the edge of this tree just so that I know where to lay down the white pigment ink in there. Okay. Now, like I always say, that you don't have to have this like perfect application. You see where that is? Now I can kind of see where to lay down that white pigment ink. But just as long as you kind of get general area, I don't know. I find that it works out fine no matter what this kind of looks like. And it never looks good at this point in time. It looks like a sloppy, gloppy mess. So anyway. Oh, that's right, Nicole. You're in. How's the weather out in Western Australia? Out in WA. Every time I always wrote that WA on or I don't know. I'm usually doing mailing tags, but that WA for in the United States is Washington. You know, Washington State. Oh, you like the yeah. Sharita, you got that holograph right when you first started stamping. Didn't you pick up some of that holographic right away? Okay, I'm switching to a new cotton ball here. That other one was getting kind of globby. All right, so when you get those cotton balls, it's going to be frayed like this when you first start applying that ink in there like that. You know, you can't really, that's not a good applicator. So what you do is you squash it down like that. And see, that's nice and flat now. Okay. Do it a couple times. See, it's like frayed again. But then you squash it and you press that ink kind of back in there a little bit. Okay. And then this one is going to be kind of a narrow application in here because of these smaller trunks like that. Okay. So I'm just going to go right up that. And when I stamp this out again, I'm not going to be like sweating, getting my registration on this like perfectly. I mean, I don't want to be over by like an inch or something like that, but you know, just as long as you kind of hit the general vicinity, I find that it's fine. This one right here will go like this. And I'm going kind of outside of the lines right there. And I don't think that's going to, you know, it's not going to pose a problem here. All right, I keep saying this because, you know, I know what people, if they do this for the first time and they see kind of what is happening on their page, they're thinking, you know, this, you know, is this the way this is supposed to be looking? You know, it's not looking too good. You know, it's going on a gigantic blob or anything like that. Well, that's, you know, that's what this one looks like here. You know, I might have a little bit more practice, you know, at it. I guess don't have this like super, super juicy, you know, like sloppy wet. You know what I mean? Where it's like absolutely just, you know, saturated. I kind of have it saturated. It's probably like, I don't know, like a 16th of an inch into the surface of the cotton ball. Okay. But I don't know, you know, if you do have it kind of blobby, you know, don't put it right here on this real narrow one. But, you know, I could go like that, you know, and here's this gigantic blob of it there. You know what I mean? Because we're going to be stamping over this thing anyway. So not going to really matter. Once you get everything on there, we start adding in some extra things. It all kind of evens out. You know, with the shading and everything like that. And then, you know, even after that, I do put some additional white pigment ink over the top of all that coloring, so that all kind of blends it in. I'm talking to those people, that, you know what I mean? Whoever's going to try this here for the first time. Want to really get down the point, emphasize this kind of you know, point. When people are coloring with other types of things, Copic markers and things like that, you know, a lot of times it's like going on and it's going on in the way that they want. It's perfectly smooth and, you know, everything looks great in every step of the way. And then, you know, and if it's like something kind of unconventional where, you know, like during part of the process, yeah, it doesn't look too good. They get really worried about that and they say, oh my God, I quit, you know. All right, let me see. Let me get a little bit of cloud structure in the background here. Okay. Torn paper towels are a really great way to do it because it's so kind of organic and, you know, soft with the paper towel edge like that. So I wanted to bake chocolate chip cookies too. I'm out of flour. I made sure that we had enough flour because I was like, I don't want to go back to Costco like too much over this holiday season. All right. So adding a little bit of tone right in here like this. You can see it. You can move around your template too to get it more kind of, oh, no, I like a hard edge cloud too. I think those, those templates like that are pretty cool. But I kind of like a little bit more kind of like a moving one. Okay, so a gestural cloud. So see, as I'm doing this, what I might be doing is I kind of move the template around a little bit. You know what I mean? Like this. Okay. And then you get kind of a little bit more of a, kind of a, well, like I said, like an organic looking whatever entity like that, okay? Now, if you like, if you want to just set it and just go and get that exact edge, you can do that too. But there's my clouds in the background like that. It looks terrible right now. All right, let's go for another one right here. I'm going to even all this out, though. I'm going to like freehand in some tone in here. But like if I need to, okay? If I'm going to, that's not our end result. We're going to have like hanging branches in here and grasses, coming from here. We're going to have the extra tree limbs everywhere. So, but that's, yeah, it's hardly a masterpiece in terms of a finished work. Okay, now let me try to get a little bit of extra texturing on here. What I do is I get that line in here like that, okay? Like that, a little bit of a defined edge, okay? But then what I do is I go and I'm kind of applying this over the top of that. So it's kind of like it's a lighter application than that template edge, okay? And then what I do is I kind of bring out this tone. You want to do this with kind of a drier touch now, a drier application of this. You can go heavy-handed, but just don't have a lot of ink on there, okay? And then you have that. See that little kind of diffusion up there? This is where the template went to, and then I have this extra right over the top of that. It's not just on the holographic. I usually do that on the other, cardstocks and foils, stuff like that. Okay, let's see. Not going to substitute with all sugar. I remember that. I remember your pieces there, Sharita. It was like, yeah, Sharita went for it. You know what I mean? Because sometimes people, when they're getting into this, it's like, hey, that, they're too intimidated by some, technique or something like that. But I was thinking, hey, Sharita, she's just going right. She could go for it type of person anyway. But it's like, hey, I want to do that. And you didn't have kind of the built-up types of processes that other people have been doing on working on like cardstocks or anything like that. So some people, it's like if they're kind of in the habit of using a certain type of combination of media, you have to kind of break them of that kind of that sequencing sometimes. I was like, oh, this is good. Sharita's just, kind of gone into it. And, you didn't have to unlearn anything in terms of the process here. All right, so that's what we have right here. Let's go on and stamp in our images. I don't know if all of them yet, but I'll get them kind of positioned right now. And then we'll build some extra imagery on top of that. But look at that holographic whatever coloring going on in the background. In some ways, this is a lot, in terms of a colored piece. In some ways, this is almost like an easier process because we don't have to do really a lot of coloring. Okay, the colored pencil stuff is like kind of minimal coloring. But since the color is already inherent in these types of surfaces, it's like, the dynamic attention-getting coloring that we're usually doing, we're adding color for, to create a dynamic end result, right? It's already inherent in the paper, so in some ways, this, like I said, it's I don't know if it's like easier, but it's faster to do one of these pieces many times. And when you're kind of pushing, for those extra little details to make something, kind of push something over the top in terms of visual interest. In here, the visual interest is already inherent in the surface, so it's just like we're just kind of working around it, which is kind of a, kind of a cool, whatever, dynamic to be doing. You just start off with something exciting, to begin with. All right, let's see here. I'm going like this. I'm putting this kind of a little bit below the bottom of the page here. Okay, like that. Beautiful late spring morning, going to be mid-20s today. That's Celsius, folks. We could, if you want, to make chocolate chip candy eggs. A velvet fog right now. All right. Holding this down for a little bit longer. I think last week, when I was stamping it out, I was thinking I should have held this stamp down a little bit longer to transfer onto this. You're really not transferring the ink, this ink right here, this black Brilliance ink, onto the holographic foil. We're really transferring it onto the white Brilliance ink that has been laid down on there already. All right, but this, that black would print directly onto that surface, like I said, but we just wouldn't be able to color it in, so I want to add some shading and things like that into it. All right, let's go with this one. You can use your rubber stamps too. I'm just using these larger ones on this piece just to kind of create, I don't know, whatever, a little bit more distance, I guess, and scale into this. Yeah, it's not small. It's a half-page piece, which is still, fairly large in terms of card making standards. Most of us work on like a quarter page, for the majority of our pieces, right? I don't know. Maybe not everyone. Linda, you always, Linda works really great in larger formats. I think in a previous life, Linda used to be a muralist, 20 by 30 feet or something like that. All right. That one came out a little bit light on this side. Maybe I should have held it down a little bit longer. With the art foamies, you can't use that with like a Misty. Or can you? All right, now here's the one here that I think it was roughly like right here. All right. We might get a little bit of a double stamping. I don't know. If we do, who cares, right? Like a double image. Like that edge right there. I don't know. Maybe I used a little bit too much ink on this for that registration impression. But remember, in scenic stamping, we're going to be using a lot of like leaves and extra branches and things like that. So not to worry if something doesn't come out exactly as planned. at all. Hello, Michelle. How are you? Patty, good to see you. Okay, so what we're doing on this piece right here, if you just joined in, I'm gonna try. I've done this like even in this probably scenario, I don't know, multiple times on this channel, but I couldn't remember exactly if I've done some light beams running through my page on holographic before. Probably have, but I don't know. I just couldn't remember. Okay, so I got a little off. There's that branch right there, but you know, close enough. Okay, I want to leave a little bit of space in here. I got a little thumbprint right there for some sort of subject matter, like a deer or something like that. Right in here, and you can see those clouds in the background there. I think my light beams are going to be coming from like right in there. And I wasn't sure if I was just going to make like some edges, some clouds right here where the beam is going to be coming from. I could just have it behind this tree too, and I can put the beams like back in there. So it's like the source of light is like behind something, okay? But I think we'll do that. Let's see right in here, okay? What I'm looking for is if I need to add in some more white pigment based on what I'm going to stamp right in here. I don't think I need to. Okay, let's stamp out our foundation, and we'll use the sedge filler stamp, which is basically like some grass texture. Experienced my first snow in 25 years yesterday. Now, what does that mean, Patty? Where you are... hadn't seen... Oh, or... Okay, you've been gone from the snow for 25 years. So you're saying snow, like snow just in general? That's cool. How much did it snow? Okay, I'm going to wipe off the edges of those a little bit. Okay, because this black pigment ink is a really thick ink, and I just re-inked this knowing that I was going to be stamping these really big trees onto this type of surface right here. So I just want that to have a nice mellow edge like that, so where you overlap them, it's not coming up with those real blobby looking overlap. Okay, I don't always do that, but after when I was doing it last week, it's like, you know, just kind of wiping it off. Like that takes like, I don't know, like 2 seconds to do, and it kind of expedites the whole process of, you know, kind of blending everything together nice and smoothly. So you just kind of wipe off the edge. You do this with things like clouds too, like sky figures. Like that. All right. And I don't know if you can see it right here. Like if I do this sometimes like that, it's like that meeting point. Now I put extra emphasis on, I kind of stamped it a little bit harder there, but sometimes like in that meeting spot of the two. So what you do is you just kind of wipe it off like that. So when things are like grasses or something like that, or, you know, a little bit lighter, like lighter things like clouds, you know, you don't want to have this like really definitive meeting spot where cloud is meeting cloud with sun or something like that. Is, you know, another sky figure or another cloud. You want that merging, you know, point to be nice and seamless and integrated and everything like that. So you just wipe off the edge so it just doesn't stamp out darker, okay? You don't have to do that with like solid images, but I'm talking about like airy ones like this, okay? All right, so we have that. And see how those clouds are kind of rising above like that. I'm gonna have some extra leaves and things like that in here. I think let's put something on that horizon right there. I think we need something kind of rising over that. Let's do, I don't know, maybe do a different type of tree, or... Yeah, I don't think I want to do this one. We could, but let's do... trying to think here. Do I want this type in here again in the background? This leafless tree. Here's the hardest thing, you know, of stamping. It's like coming up with the when you have too many. So I got a lot of stamps on my desk right now, so maybe it's too much for me. All right, let's just go with this one. I just did that vellum piece the other day, and I used this one. I'm just going to use the trees right in here, right in this spot right here, and they'll be kind of rising up from back there. Let's do a little bit of masking here, like about like so. And, oh, okay, let me be careful right here. Let's do that right there. I'm just going to go for a fairly quick impression, okay? Like about like that. Yeah, I need to fill in a little bit more over here, I guess. I guess I didn't ink it up enough there. Which I did on purpose so that you can see how you kind of remedy that. All right, let's see here. Sometimes I ink up the wrong side here. It's like, oh, you know. It's like Kevin, you know, after like 30 years, you don't get the kind of the idea of, you know, the reverse area of a stamp that you're, you know, using needs to be inked up. All right, there we go. So another little application of that. Can I go for another, like a second impression, do you think? Yeah, maybe let's not try it. All right, like that. The base of it didn't stamp out too much, but I'm going to have like this fog kind of rising up over this like bank right here anyway, so. All right, so we have a little bit of a, I don't know, whatever imagery in the distance there. Like about like so. And, all right, let me see here. I'm going to apply a little bit of this preliminary fogging type of look, background fog right now, because I'm going to color these with some colored pencils. And I'm going to have like a deer or something down here. So I'm going to do this right now. Okay. I usually do this after I do a bunch of coloring, but I'm going to have like another image stamped in here first, so I need to mute this background a little bit from the bottom up to make it look like this mist rising from whatever, the forest floor. In here, like that. All right, it's this little background kind of diffusion. Let's diffuse a little bit more like that, I think. Okay. I want this scene to be really kind of all about light, reflected light, and I don't know, whatever the light beams within here. All right. If only I could draw, Kevin. I bet you can. You would just need to practice it. Because you already know the thing about drawing. I mean, you got to get the mechanics down and whatever your technique down or something like that. But the thing that you already know, than someone just kind of learning to draw, is you already know about contrast and you know light and shade, things like that, and volumes. Okay, you know, it's all the kind of the fundamentals. You would just need to kind of translate it into whatever medium you're working with. Drawing would be, I don't know, whatever, pen and ink or graphite, something like that. But yeah, you'd have this gigantic head start if you wanted to learn. I can teach you in a week. Yeah, yeah. So you were in Michigan. I know, but you never went back to Michigan then to have, you didn't experience any snowfall or anything like that, Patty? Gone in the morning. Yeah, that must have been fun. All right, let's get to coloring right here. Okay, so this is like I love this part of this process here on this type of vinyl holographic. I love the way that, this holographics to me in the past, whenever I looked at that type of thing, now, I didn't know about the printable vinyl, okay, but I had like the holographic card stocks like this, okay, and I just couldn't imagine us using that in a scene. But that's when I remembered we have the Brilliance inks, that can dry on this type of surface. But anything we stamp on here, if I stamp this thing that's fairly bold, I mean, all those colors would just show right through, and you wouldn't even be able to see this imagery on here. So, part of the reason why I didn't think, we can't use that type of surface for stamping is because there was just too much of an extreme on here. Okay, that background, it just overwhelmed everything. But okay, so the white pigment ink on here, as we can see, it muted out certain areas and objects like that. But it's still, that coloring in the background is still fairly strong. So, but this colored pencils, they just happen to work on here, but they're also like the perfect, for me, balancing medium in terms of, I guess it's specifically balancing out the intensity of the scene. Okay, there's when we talk about color. In color, the color can be broken down into hue, what color it is, temperature, is it warm or cool. There's value, light and dark, and then there's intensity, which is bright and dull. Okay, but colored pencils are one of those things that are so kind of mellow, and I guess you can get really bright tones, but for the most part, they're not going to be as bright as something like certain inks or dyes or something like that. And they tend to have a kind of a softer look. Like I said, you can get brighter tones, if you go like if you use like a red or something like that, really hard, firmly, and you get, like pure saturations of certain colors. But, for the most part, the colored pencils are kind of mellow, and they're, it's usually a softer type of look, just in general. Like I said, some people might use them a little bit differently, but I tend to think it's a softer look, which, what I'm getting at here is that it's the perfect complement to that, that craziness out there. Because its colors in kind of the opposite direction from whatever that center line of intensity. So you get bright, and you have, I don't know, we call it dull, but I guess duller. Dull not in terms of interest level, but just in terms of intensity. Dulls would be like pastels too. You know, you, you're knocking down the intensity of a certain color with white. All right, so anyways, here we go with the trunks right here. I'm gonna have these light beams kind of running across like this. So what I'm gonna do, not with this first color that we're applying on here, I'm applying it very lightly too, because you can't really build up too much of this colored pencil on here, just because the white pigment ink laid down, you know, is only so porous, you know, so you can't lay down colored pencil over colored pencil over colored pencil on this like you can with as if it was like a matte piece of paper, you know, or a watercolor paper with a lot of texture to it. Okay, so these trees are going to be shaded kind of in various values from going from light to dark. Okay. So with your first color, if you want to apply more colors to make it look a little bit richer, don't apply it too heavily, you know, where you do want to layer a lot more tone. So I'm going to do like maximum like 3 colors probably on here with the colored pencils in terms of layering. Is it cardstock or sticker paper? Caroline, this is vinyl sticker paper, and it's printable vinyl sticker paper. Printable holographic vinyl sticker paper, okay? Not holographic vinyl, holographic vinyl sticker paper, but the printable one. Doesn't the pencil scrape off the Brilliance? No, mine doesn't. If I was going on perhaps with harder pencils, it would. Okay. And it doesn't scrape off the impressions at all, because they are really locked down for me. But I don't know if this, I'm using the Prismacolor pencils. If it were some of my, there's a couple couple colored pencils of mine in the Prismacolor collection set that are harder, and so they don't apply as easily. So I have to press a little bit harder into it, okay? But, you know, in order for it to apply. But I've never had it peel off of the back. But one of the things is if I have to press too hard into this, so I just kind of, I don't use that pencil then. Because if I do have to press into this hard, I'm kind of scoring and, you know, making an indenting the sticker paper. Not that that really matters. I mean, you can, I don't know, be almost like embossing. But I don't know, it'd be better if you emboss from the back, though. But that's the only thing that I've kind of come across. It's like, or if I've just laid down too many colors and I'm going with a color that's, you know, harder than the previous ones and it won't apply. You know, I've experienced that just from the layering, the amount of layering that's gone on. You know what I mean? Like wax over wax is just not accepting it anymore. But okay, so, but you're saying that you're scraping off the Brilliance though? Sometimes, like there's actually some removal of it, because this for me is really hard set in here. What kind of pencils are you using? What brand of colored pencils? It's not like X-Acto, is it? I'm just joking. There's no X-Acto colored pencils. I don't think. All right, so there's your brown like that. All right. I'm going to lay down a little bit of this brown too. These grasses are going to be kind of greenish colored, you know. But if you get a little bit of this down there anyway, I think it looks better to have a little bit of this color integrated in here and this color right here integrated into the brown. Okay, so I'm thinking about maybe I should get my image stamped out first like that. Is that too big? That'd be a really big deer right here. It would certainly change the scale of the trees if I went that big right there. I probably have the smaller one around here somewhere, but I don't know, maybe we'll go for this, like right here. I need to think about this right now because if I lay down too much colored pencil on here, this image is not going to stamp on there really cleanly. In fact, I probably should have laid it down before I did that little bit of a brown colored pencil. So what we can do here is we can just do this right here. If I'm worried about it, I'm not really worried about it, but I'll just lay down another, small layer of the Brilliance ink right over the top of that light layer of colored pencil. And if it was a really thick layer of colored pencil, maybe you can't do that because maybe this Brilliance would come off. It would flake off the waxy coating on there. But I don't think it's so much that we have to worry about that. Okay, let's see. Let's go like this. I'm going to do this too. We'll see if this comes out right here. I'm going to put this deer kind of like in front of this tree. I usually have it like in the opening so that we can see the clear silhouette, but we want to kind of create a lot of layering on here, so I'm going to layer the deer too because it's big enough to do that. I don't think I'll get the whole body in because if I got, the feet and everything, because if I do that, then the deer's head's going too much up into this tree line right here. That's darker. And it would make for a weird kind of silhouette. It would look like the deer's like wearing like, I don't know, what it's like Mickey Mouse ears or something like that. All right, let's do it right here. I want this one to come out pretty dark, so I'm holding it down a little bit longer. I remove the Brilliance with the pencil. One brand is black Prismacolor, the other is Shuttle Art Softer. Derwent. Huh. I don't know. The Prismacolor, my Prismacolors are working fine. You can, ask Deanna what she's using. That came out like so much darker. Ask Deanna what she's using. She's doing the colored pencils on the Brilliance technique. And I don't know if she has the Prismacolors or something else. But yeah, that shouldn't be happening. Now, okay, so Linda, you're not using like super sharp pencils, are you? Don't sharpen them up all the way. Like have it kind of like, like, I don't know if you can see that, like stubbier, okay? And you want to use it, here's like the, the pencil lead like this, and I'm using this flat edge like that all the time. I'm never using it like a sharp point on there, okay? But for me, it's just to get more coverage too. It's not like I'm not trying to like avoid scraping because I don't know. I just haven't come across that, but I don't know. I guess I can see it happening potentially. Maybe if the Brilliance is like really, really thick on there too, perhaps. But I don't know. On mine though, it grabs the Brilliance so quickly that, and it dries so fast, that emulsion. Like if you're printing out like a photograph, onto in an inkjet printer. You know, that's like pretty thick layers of a lot of different colors on there, and that dries really fast. Okay, so I'm going to go add in some additional leaves in here and this overhanging canopy right now before I get too far into the colored pencil work, because I don't think this is going to stick to it very well if I do that. I'm going to do this in a couple different color schemes. This is what I was saying I should have done last week. Linda did a piece. I did it on the vellum, but I only did black on the front of the vellum, where I was thinking, I should have went with some colored impressions of those overhangs in the back to create a little bit more depth. So that's what this is doing. We're going to stamp this out in green like that, and we'll stamp some other ones in front of it in black. That'll create a little depth within that foreground area. Okay, I haven't forgotten about these light beams that are running across in here, but those light beams will just be coming through the leaves too. You know, in theory. Yeah, I never know exactly how these things are going to come out or if it's going to work at all. I mean, I take it's going to work, but, you know, we'll see how effective it is over, you know, that holographic stock. All right, so there's some, that in there where it looks really muted is where some of that white pigment ink was, so I'm stamping some of that green. That's what it looks like on the bare holographic right there. And where there was some white pigment ink laid down, it came out a little bit lighter, which, you know, will be fine. It'll be like, you know, kind of a varied impression in there. I want to go with another green one right here, but I don't think it's going to stick to that. I've already laid down too much of that brown colored pencil in there. All right, so that was just like a dark green dye-based ink right there. And remember, the dye-based inks are water-based, so it will apply and dry on that type of surface. It might even be dry right now. I don't know. All right, I have this larger leaf art foamy right here. Let's go with this one overhanging right here, and hopefully it'll kind of create the illusion of a lot of depth. I'd really rather color this in the background first and then stamp that on there, but it just, you know, we have to get that in there earlier just so that this ink will stick to it. I guess you can use like a StazOn. Did we do a StazOn last week? I guess the StazOn worked on that. I laid down a lot of like colored pencils, and I think we stamped something with a StazOn ink over the top of it just so that it would adhere to it without any problem. But I seem to recall it working out okay. Okay, let's see, let's go like that. Hold it down a little bit longer for it to transfer. Hopefully we get a really nice dark impression. I don't think it's going to be as dark as that deer there, but we'll see. Maybe it's because the deer is, you know, a rubber stamp, and these are the art foamies. I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah. So it's always yeah, see, that's stamped out a little bit lighter. It's still reasonably dark though. It looks okay. It's always peeled on you, Linda? Yeah, we'll ask Deanna what she's using. All right, one more. I might be working around this area, and right there, I can see it kind of beaded on the colored pencil. Look at that color right there. That's what's so great about the holographics like that. First of all, the colors change, and it's like at different angles. Look at that right there. And that's kind of cool with the shadows in there too. But you get that kind of inherent excitement in the actual surface like that. Oh, there we go. All right. So we have that. We'll have some other things in the foreground too. at the base of the scene. All right, let's get back to the colored pencils here. Okay, so what I'm looking for here too, I'll see, Linda, but see, I'm looking on here. I never see like, I don't know, like black on my colored pencils where it's kind of peeling off. Now, that being said, see, I'm going across those deer feet right there. I don't want to do that too much because it's making the deer legs a little bit lighter because this light green is on top of it. But I was just doing that to see if it kind of potentially, you know, had any kind of rubbing off. But yeah. All right, so we have some greens like that. And then bring some of those greens for a little bit of continuity up here. This would look really good as a like a snowy scene too, and doing it, you know, in that same color scheme that I used last week too. But I don't know. It's like getting colder here, so it's like I'm thinking about I need to stamp something a little bit warmer looking. So when Patty was in Florida, she's stamping a lot of winter snowy scenes, you know, because she was deprived of that living in Florida. Snow deprivation syndrome. All right, here we go. Like that. Okay, so see that little bit of greenish tinge in there. Not that you want, you know, your trees like, you know, bark green, but it's just like a sub layer. Okay, here's some dark brown right here. And you just go over that, you know, in some areas, so it's not going to read as like a lime greeny tone or anything like that, but you get it kind of buried into the layering in there. Okay, we'll create some shadows at the base here. Now, what do you mean Prismacolor Black? That's the name of the series of pencils. It's Prismacolor Black then? I'm using the the Premier ones from a gazillion years ago, though. Is this? Yeah, this is brown. Dark brown. So you can add it into the shadow areas too. It doesn't really show up, but it makes the dark look a little bit, or a lot darker. Now this one right here, I think I'm familiar with this dark brown pencil. The dark brown pencil is fairly hard as far as these colored pencils go, okay? So I don't get a lot of coverage with that from what I recall with this. Now, if it was the first color that I laid down where I'm laying it directly onto the Brilliance, then maybe. But when I get to the black, my Prismacolor Black is fairly soft, so it does apply pretty easily on the top of this layered colored pencil. On top of the layered colored pencil tones. See, they're starting to, you know, the trees are starting to get a little bit mottled. Like that, and then we have all these different colors up top like that. And we'll try to bring in those dynamics later on with the those light beams. Okay, let's see. Okay, now here's the black. I'm going to put it on the far side of the tree from where I'm going to have those light beams coming in from. You can put the light beams wherever you want. You know, they could be in here. I guess they could go from right to left, you know, if you wanted to. But on here, we'll have them going from left to right. So I'm going to shade shadow the right side of these trunks for the most part. Yeah, I'm having an easy time applying this black in here. It's a nice, soft. I know. What do you call colored pencil? It's not lead, right? You know, you call it. What do you call it? We'll just call it pencil lead. It's kind of wax though, but this lead is nice and soft in relation to the other colors that have already been applied, or in comparison to whatever. So it applies over it, so I'm able to get a pretty nice, deep, rich tone like that. All right. I need to go darker. I'm being a little bit conservative with this, I think. I can go for a little bit more contrast in here. And this one right here didn't stamp out very dark in terms of my impression, so we'll enhance some of the shadows in here a little bit more. Like that. All right. Let's see, let's go a little bit darker around here. I'm just kind of taking it like a 5% darker, you know, or if not less, with each pass, so it never really gets like super dark right away, so I can kind of adjust it as I go. All right, you're seeing it with a little bit of glare like that, okay? It's all my waxes and stuff are glary, but this is what it looks like right here. And you see, look at all those colors in the sky like that. You see a lot of posts on Facebook and the groups like that. You know, there's these really cool photographs of like clouds and, you know, whatever you call it, diffraction or whatever, you know, with light in the clouds, like little rainbowy things, you know, and people are posting it for kind of inspiration pieces. There's one that really went around years ago, and there was all these clouds, but then you saw a little bit of that kind of that rainbowy type of look. I don't know what it was. I don't know if there were these little like prism kind of shaped effects. I can't remember what that thing looked like, but there were several of them. But you can kind of get that, you know. It's like, if someone's going to try that, when I saw that, I was thinking, okay, it's going to have to be the holographics, you know, in order to get something kind of in that spirit with all that. So luckily we have some media that we can, you know, utilize on these types of surfaces like that in order to achieve that type of spirit. All right, I got that right there. All right, now let's see. Let's get in some extra. Yeah, let's do a little bit more shadow work right here. At the base of the trees. I'm going to have the lighting coming from over here, so I'm angling the shadows out this way. Like about like that. Okay. Pencil crayons. Oh, that's a lot more. That's a lot more in the spirit of what they are, aren't they? I'm gonna use a little bit of blue in here. It's kind of the color that's kind of going on, you know, in a lot of the sky there, like that. And I like to bring in some of those tones like this. It's not going to read like blue trees or anything like that, but you get a little bit of that hue as like a little bit of a layer in these different objects and areas, and that helps to bring out a little bit of continuity in there. I'm trying to bring some of that green up into the trees and some of the brown into the grass like that. But there's all these other colors that are going on up here. It doesn't mean we have to bring everything. I see purple, so here's purple, and here's blue and orange, and you know what I mean? But you can do that type of thing. And it'll add to that, you know, whatever, that cohesion between you know, the different elements like that. And because this one's so dynamic, it wouldn't be bad to have some of those colors in here. Or, you know, like here's a purple right here, but you can add it like maybe in the shadows, you know, this violet right here. It never reads as violet anywhere, but you get this little, like, I don't know, what do they call it in like I don't drink wine, but you know, people are talking about like notes. There's notes of whatever. There's notes of citrus or something like that in there. So you can have these notes of certain colors, kind of buried, you know, within the, you know, within your color schemes or like deep in the shadows here and there. And it just kind of brings everything together a little bit more. Okay, so here's a little bit of violet right there. Like that, okay. See, we still get some of that reflective essence of the that foil showing through here, you know, which is kind of interesting because I buried a lot in not only the white pigment ink, but now there's, I don't know, there's several layers of colored pencils and different colored pencil colors over it, but you still get this little bit of a reflective type of whatever quality through all of that different media. And that's one of the things about working with metallics like this. So, you know. If you haven't seen this like video or these techniques before, it doesn't mean that I think, you know, we should always be working on metallics or something like that. You know, after I do these metallics, I'm probably going to go back to like matte white cardstock for a few cards. You know what I mean? Just to, you know, I like to mix it up. Okay, so let me see. Let's add in a little bit of highlighting in here, and then we'll get to those rays, okay? But I'll start it off with this, just because it's easier to add this acrylic work over the top of this, these applications here. When I add in those white beams in there, sometimes if I'm trying to add in some the acrylic pen work over the top of that pigment ink like that, the pigment ink. Okay, so this is where the pigment ink does kind of scrape off sometimes, Linda. Or I don't know if it, yeah, I guess it does a little bit, but when I'm applying this type of pen work, sometimes I might have some of that pigment ink down there, and it's clogging my like tiny little outlet for this ink paint right here. Now, if it does clog out, all you do is just scribble it like that and get it flowing again. Let me see. Let's go a little bit lighter right here. Okay, so like some of these areas, there's a little bit of light or shadow on one side and light on the other side of that texture. So I added dark into the darker areas, into the shadows, and then on these lighter areas within the design. I'm not kind of inventing kind of lighting on these trees because they're already lighter and darker in here, okay? So I'm just kind of illuminating some of the lighter areas like that, okay? And somebody might think, well, if you want it light, then why'd you color it? Well, I want it lighter and richer, so I had to add some color into it, otherwise it would just be white. So I wanted a like a colored, textured lightness within these forms like this, okay? So you just color it in, and then you can, if you want to, you know, kind of to reclaim some of that highlighting in there, then you just can add it right back in here, but it's a much richer lighting than if we just simply left it white, okay? And it's also more textured like this too. Add in any kind of textures if anyone knows how to like cross hatch or anything like that. You can do that in there. I'm not like a good cross hatcher, so I'm not really going to do that. So I'm just adding little like dots like that. All right, but anyways, this is what this is looking like right here, okay? So I'm adding kind of highlights on the side of the tree that's going to be facing the light. And this is like a beige color. And then we'll go into white as well. Look at that glow coming out of there. We'll have our light coming out of here. So on the left side of these trunks, I have the highlighting on the left side, okay? And on this tree, to the left of it, we'll have right side highlights. Is Bill still here? Bill, are you eating your ice cream if you are? And if you are, what flavor? So you didn't say, Linda, did your husband, is he redoing the batch, you know, with the eggs in it this time, though? Linda's husband made the chocolate chip cookies, but he forgot the eggs in it. I made some chocolate chip cookies, but my son isn't into chocolate. So I just left some of it. You know, I rolled some, you know, made some balls out of the dough. But then I just worked some like cinnamon sugar into his, like a snickerdoodle, I guess, or something like that. Pseudo snickerdoodle. I asked that about the ice cream because I just heard my stomach grumble. I hope that wasn't picked up on the speaker here. See that right there? It's like some black coming out of this because it filled up. See that right there? It went up into my whatever nib. It's not really a nib, tip of this paint pen like that. So you just get it kind of flowing again like that. Get all that whatever, the Brilliance ink out of there like that. Okay. Now let's go to some white. All right, but see that right there? Look at that texturing on there where it's capturing the light from whatever the background is where it kind of represents. But let's get a little bit of a, is that going there? All right. a little bit lighter. I'm going to do it where maybe it's a little bit too much highlighting on here. If I were going to stop after this highlighting, like this little highlighting type of technique here is often like one of the last things I do on a scene, or the fog, you know, stuff like that, soft highlighting, sharp highlighting. But this one, you know, we're going to have these light beams running across in here, which are going to be more of a kind of a dynamic, whatever, application of media in here. So I want, you know, these little highlights on the trees are represented, they represent reflected light. So if we're going to have these beams in here kind of influencing the objects in the scene and how they're lit, then we could stand to go a little bit more, you know, with these types of applications here. So you can go a little bit more extreme, in other words. God, look at all that, you know, those colors up there. All right, this is like a 0.7. I'm gonna try the Jane Davenport. Does this thing have a shaker? And this one doesn't have a shaker. I'm gonna try to use a little bit of that. This is more like a felt tip one. Yeah, that's working really. That works great. Yeah, I don't have to worry about it getting clogged up in my thing, because this is a felt tip one, like a bullet tip. It looks like white wildflowers more than in this size, more than like highlights. You know, which are cool. What do they call it? Pearly everlasting or something like that. I guess there's a bunch of, you know, probably a bunch of different types of white wildflowers. All right, I think that is it. I could color those trees in the background, a little bit of tone. I was going to say, but I'm not going to, because we're going to have all these other beams in here. But maybe let's get a little bit of this green in there, maybe. Yeah, maybe not that. More like a foresty green. All right, something like that. It just has a little tinge of a color back in there. I don't want to make it too bright. Speaking of that, let's go a little bit brighter with the green in the foreground, though. Darker and more intense closer, duller and lighter kind of in the background, typically, if you want to push kind of depth in your pieces. I like that green. I'm adding more here, as you can see. It's like, that looks really good. All right. Yeah. All right. This is what this looks like here. One thing that's bothering me a little bit is that little tail right there. That overstamped area. Here, let me just kind of, I'm going to extend this out a little bit like that, and I'll kind of add in some fog back there or something. All right, let's do it. Let's go with that. Those beams. Done eating and was reclining as I am weary. Did you eat something good though, Bill? You got me thinking about ice cream last week, and the thought of ice cream while stamping is a good combination, even though if I didn't have it. Hello, Erica. Glad you like it. Printable vinyl holographic sticker paper and Brilliance inks. Okay, and then colored pencils, as you can see. All right, so what we're doing here is we're on the step now. I'm going to add in some light beams coming across in here. Hopefully, it kind of adds a little bit of a a dynamic kind of movement to the scene, okay? And let's do that. We're going to use our Brilliance inks again. And let's make the light source, let's put the light source, I'm trying to think about this in terms of the angles that I'll use in here. Let's do it about right here. Okay, so that'll be what, I'm picking out a vanishing point to add my light beams from, to be emanating from, okay? So I'm just going to pick it right here. I'm getting my eye on there so I don't get confused as to its location. And all of our light beams now are going to come from that point right there. And we'll do it in perspective like that. So let's see. Now, I don't have a plan for this. I didn't have a plan because you can't really come up with too much of a plan beforehand unless you kind of have to see what kind of developed in your scene. So we're just making this up on the spot right here. Okay, so I'm going to have like different beams in here. So that's what I'm kind of contemplating right now. And how wide do I want this one? I mean, there's no like set rule or anything like that. It's not like, oh my God, that beam should have been, whatever, like an inch instead of half an inch, or you know what I mean, or it should have been smaller or something like that. Just kind of vary the size of them. I think kind of adds to a really good look. I mean, you can do everything. You can do it all kind of uniformly too. It might have kind of a more of a kind of a surreal type of feel to it or whatever. On this one, I don't know. Not that we have to go for realism, when it comes to something like this. It's like we're working on holographic foil. How real can it really be? But I don't know. I'm going to try to do it somewhat, realistic in terms of how, beams kind of look when they're running through things. Okay, so that being said, what I'm doing is I'm adding in some tone. And then you're not doing it in a completely even manner, okay? Kind of have it broken up a little bit because that's the way it looks usually out in nature because it's hitting leaves and stuff like that. It's it's fading out. It's stronger in some areas of the beam and weaker in others. You might have it more thicker on the top of it and lighter on the bottom or something like that. So I might be kind of adding more up top like this and less down here, or it can change, depending on the location of the application. But all those little things kind of add up to kind of a more, it's more variety in terms of that beam. Okay, and what I usually like to do is I like to taper it a little bit too. So I'm adding it heavier there and a little bit lighter over here. And maybe a little bit more on top and less on the bottom, like that. I used to go with all one solid thing all the way across it, okay? So I have done it that way. And I thought it looked great, so I kept doing it, but it's like, let's vary it a little bit more. So like that, and it looks like it's like a little bit stronger here, and it weakens and it gets stronger again right there and weak up there. And it's not even the full bottom side of that beam right in there. All right. And then we'll add them in and we'll keep adding them in with that one dot up there as our vanishing point. Okay. Let's do this. Let's do a really wide beam like this. Okay. But let's do it as a weaker one, okay? Because this is like really big in here, so I don't want it like super strong. Although you could, but I think it'd be better if it was a little bit you know, when I say weaker, I guess that really it's more like varied would be better. I'm gonna do this too. I'm gonna weave it. I'm gonna have this beam kind of over here, and then I have it going in back of that trunk right there, like that. Instead of going over the top of it like that, I'm gonna have it go in back of that one, and I'll go in front of like these ones right here, okay? Now, if I was to do this 5 times, it would be like, I'd be probably be doing 5 different, types of things here. So it's not like, okay, I figured out the best way to do it or something like that. No, it's not that at all. Like, I can't even remember if I've done this, like light beams on holographics before. Okay, let's take a look here. Like that. Yeah, see, it's like really weak. That's almost too weak, though. Let's go a little bit more. Like this. Okay. Yeah, look at that. See, it's like that. Okay. It's going in back of that and in front. So let's do another one. We're going to go a little bit more narrow. Not that I'm trying to go for large, medium and small or something like that, but I don't think I want a really big one up here. And then see too, what I'll do is I'll kind of change the spacing. When I see, this is like the negative space in here, okay? And I like I said, it's not wrong if you have like equal space, but I want to kind of vary it a little bit more. So this one right here will just be that amount of space maybe. And we'll do it like that, narrow. Sometimes I make the narrow ones a little bit stronger. But what I can do is I can just make it kind of a little bit lighter. And let's go a little bit bigger. So you can make it really weak, and then if you want to add more, you can add more, but you can't really like remove it. So I would apply it and then just take a look and see if you want to add more. You'll usually kind of, when you look at it after you've applied it, if you're not certain about how much to apply, if you take a look at it, you'll probably get a better idea of what your preference is, by making it visual. Okay, like that. I think that looks pretty good like that, really kind of weak like that. All right. And let's do another one. Let's come across down here like this. Okay, so this one's behind this tree. Let's do another one in front of this one right here. Outlanders. Outlanders or Outlander? The series. Let's see this one right here. It's like that. If it's, yeah, Outlander. I used to watch, I watched like the first, I don't know what it was, 5 seasons of that. And one of the things you have to kind of consider is when you go over objects that are really dark, it's going to stand out much more, okay? So, kind of be aware of the contrast aspect of it. Okay, like that. How many beams are there? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay, so, Here's another thing too. Let's do this. Let's do a really weak one. Okay. I'm gonna come up here, like about like so. I think I changed my vanishing point a little bit. I think I went a little bit outside of that. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, so let's go like this. Okay, so I'm going like this right here. But this one is going to go in the back of those background trees, okay? So it's going to stop around there. I'll make it really weak too, like this. The weaker beam kind of stands out quite a bit on this holographic paper. Also see, oops, see that right there? That one's going like in back of that right there. So, and you can also do, sometimes what I've done is I've done a really wide beam, but then I do a narrower beam within the beam. So it's like a closer beam and then a farther beam like that. Okay, now this is getting a little bit too, it's too angular right in here, okay? So what I do is the point of whatever emanation, what I do is I go into here and I mellow that out by bringing in like some additional lighting in there. Look at that lighting. It almost looks better when I flip this upside down than right side up. Yeah, so I come in here and I mellow that out a little bit like this. Okay, or you can do a rip paper towel and add in some additional cloud layering in there if you want to, or whatever. And at this point in time, it's really important not to add like a ton of ink into this where you're getting like these blobs over that. Okay, you just want to kind of diffuse that area a little bit and to cut the contrast down between all of these little sharp angles in there. So you have this right here. Okay, let me see if I can show you the. It's hard to get an angle where you can see where I've applied that right in there. I think I can go even more. I am going over the tops of these leaves a little bit. Or a lot, like that. Okay. All right, so we have our lighting in there. Let's do the same thing with kind of like some mist. Now this is like all washed out. I was telling people, you're getting a lot of angles showing on this, or the angle for my card right here in my studio, but it looks like this, okay? Things that there's much more contrast in here than what you're seeing when I have this flat like that, okay? It's getting like all washed out looking. All right, so that's what it looks like in regular light, okay? All right, so let's say down here, let's bring in some extra, soft lighting in the form of ground fog and mist, like about like so. On stars, yeah, Outlander. Okay, yeah, I never read the books. I didn't, I thought I don't know, I thought, what was it, season 5 or something? I thought that was the end of it, but then I noticed, oh, there's like a whole other season or something like that they started. Bonnie, had you read the books before you started watching the series then? Here I see some of this right around this deer here. Boy, that deer really stands out from the background. So I was mentioning my applications of the white pigment ink base layer before the impressions start. It's pretty clunky looking, and even my like colored pencil work is a little bit clunky looking. I'm not great with colored pencils, and here I'm using the colored pencils on top of a very unconventional. Look at that color right there. it's a very unconventional surface to be using colored pencils on, so it doesn't go on like really smoothly, like if you're used to using colored pencils like on matte paper. But you know, these little techniques like this that you can use to kind of blend things together a little bit more, you know, to make it kind of more cohesive looking and layered and rich and smooth, etc. That all kind of happens, like, you know, in the end results with this technique right here. Like I said, I'm not like schooled at using like colored pencils and stuff like that. Okay. And this surface really wants to grab onto that water-based media and to dry it really quickly, because that's what, you know, photo papers have to do when you're printing them out in your inkjet printer. You know, they don't want like inks that are going to take forever to dry. So, but yeah, if you just kind of layer these things like this, it kind of brings it together. So it's like areas that I didn't really like in terms of like my colored pencil on here. It looks a little, you know, like heavy-handed and everything like that. You add in these little details like this, and then you add stuff like this in there, and it really just kind of brings it around. The beams itself, you know, when I add in this type of thing, you know, for that point of emanation, I think that kind of brings it together, or it starts bringing it together for me. It's one of those things where it's like, in the last couple steps, I think it really kind of brings things together. I think it starts looking pretty cool before then, but in terms of all the media, you know, that's applied on here, I really love it when, you know, we kind of sandwich everything that's happened in between. So the base layer is this, and then the end result is this too. So it's when you sandwich it all together like that. I really like that look. All right. So I have that. And let's see if we can get those additional foreground layers in here. And I hope it was the, let me see. I just added a bunch of this white Brilliance down here again. I was thinking about doing this in StazOn, but that image stamped really dark right there, just with the Brilliance black. I think I'm going to go for that again. If I was just stamping directly on top of all that waxy colored pencils on these trunks and everything like that, I think we'd have to go with the StazOn, because even if this dried, it might kind of rub off after. But I think this will be okay with this additional Brilliance ink on here. But I don't know. We'll test it out and see. Yeah, that's really dark. Okay, perfect. Yeah, okay, great. Like that. That stamped out really dark right there. I think I'm going to do the rubber stamp version up in the corners again here. Because looking at it, I think the Art Phonies one didn't stamp out quite as dark, being foam, I don't know, over the top of all that colored pencil work. So let's see if we can get a little bit of a darker foreground to create a little bit more depth here and contrast between that that holographic paper. Yeah, okay. Well, all right. I've learned something here. I think I guess just going to rubber on that amount of layering is going to yield darker impression results there. Yeah, see how much darker that is now than this side, right? That. And then I also added that white over the top of all that green in there, so we can add this additional layering in there. Having those kind of lighter impressions in there, they're not bad though. With those leaves, it just kind of creates extra foreground depth. And I'm not trying to stamp this leaf over the the top of a previous impression. I'm kind of doing it more offset. Okay. So that we can create a little bit more, again, layering on there. All right. Crepuscular rays on holographic. I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. These rays in here are they almost integrate even more maybe on the holographic. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I just did them lighter or something like that, but look at all those colors in the background. Isn't that fun? Like that. Get it showing through the trees in those areas like that. But just at all those different angles like that. Let me see if I can get that more sunsetty one that I saw. Oh, there. See, if I block this off and the lighting is only coming from one direction, you get more of that kind of But let me try something right here too. Let me flip off one of my studio lights in here and see if that looks different. Yeah, it's like a totally different patterning in the background like that. So it's not getting as washed out too like that. Let me see here. I have this other light on my desk too. Oh my God, that like totally changed it. Now it's kind of washing it out a little bit, but that is so bizarre. Look how bright it looks like that with that. It's just this like one little like incandescent bulb like that in there. But I don't know, whatever. It's like it looks like sunset with like a wildfire in the background or something like that. But look at that. And okay, so this is a pretty good example. You can see where all this layering in there, that holographic is still influencing what we see in there like that. It's clearly showing right through all those colored pencil applications in there. So interesting to work with, though, that's for sure. And interesting kind of results like that. Here, let me flip that one off. That looks weird. Like that. But yeah, I really like that tone right up there like that. But the fun thing about it, a lot of different moods. There's a lot of moods within the same kind of end result, where if we're just doing this on a white piece of paper, we're usually kind of doing things that kind of, I don't know, it's certain, it depicts a certain mood depending on what color schemes we're doing or whatever. But this one's like, it's schizophrenic. It's so much fun. Anyway, let's see. They're on season 7. Done 8. Oh my gosh. Well, that's a good show. Such great production. Is the production value still the same on that? That's been going on. That is not an inexpensive show to do. But such great acting and actors for those roles. I don't even know who's on it anymore, of course. I'm sure there's like some different secondary characters now. Certainly from season 5. But oh my gosh, look at this thing right here. That's so much fun. I think that the light beams kind of added a little bit, or I don't know, added a little or a lot of depth. What do you guys think? And then there's your blue skies right there. Like that. Oh, I like that. I like that better. So I kind of flip this up right here. Look at those transitioning. They call that, look at my finger, my colors like that. They call that a split fountain in like silk screening, where you add these colors on a silk screen. So you would add like yellows, yellow, orange, and then pink right here. And then on a silk screen, you take your squeegee thing and you kind of run those colors together. And then you take your squeegee and then you run it down like that. And then you get this split fountain type of color scheme in there. On this one, you have like multiple different color schemes in there that or whatever, ever changing like that. So it makes it pretty fun. Let's see. Yeah, isn't that fun with the holographics, Felicia? And there's just like it's every color. Now, not all holographics are the same, but most of them, some of them are a little bit more. They take some of these holographics like this. This is like your base color one, which is like a silver. And some holographics, what they do is they run, like they print a different color over it. So it's more leaning towards like a warm tone, like oranges or something like that. But most of them have, to some degree, some, the different colors in there. I used the starry last week, but then I was looking at, oh gosh, I don't know. I have some of these other ones too here on my desk. I don't have all of them, but here's this kind of more icy one. I did like an ice cave with this one because it reminded me of like little shards of ice or something like that. But you can see all those different colors in there like that. It's real prism-like with this one right here. This one's like the most mellow one though. So when I started doing some of these other ones that have those different patterns like that, it's kind of strange to think of this one as kind of like a mellow type of surface to work on. But in comparison to some of those other ones, it is, or the especially the light pillar ones like this. This one's like super dynamic like that. Now this isn't a printable vinyl. This is holographic cardstock. Okay, so you would use different techniques on here. But yeah, you know what I mean. When you have these right next to each other, this is like downright, like whatever mellow. So I guess it's all relative. But anyways, they're really fun to work on, but just use the types of materials, combinations of media, surface that are going to be compatible. And if you have never done any of these things like that on those kind of unconventional surfaces, it can be a little bit overwhelming to think of, oh wait, what ink, can I use on here? So if you ever kind of want to do anything, look in the description section or drop me an email or drop someone an email on it. Like if you're on Facebook in the Stampscapes group, and we'll get you set up in terms of the media to use on these types of surfaces. But as I always say, I really recommend it. Whether you're someone new to stamping or card making or whatever. Crafting and this type of media, but it's really fun to use these other surfaces. And with a lot of people that have been stamping for a while, a lot of people have a lot of the media in hand already. I don't know about printable vinyl sticker paper, but stuff like the Brilliance things. Like I had some Brilliance things sitting around for like 20 years that I didn't use. And started using it. And I had like some different foils that I hadn't used, just the metallic papers or the iridescent papers like Star Dream and stuff. So you can really open up your kind of like card making capability, options with the use of these types of inks, that will dry on them. So and it just added so much fun. I was doing like glossy cardstock for years and years and years without really changing too much, in dye-based inks. But I don't know, this is like so much fun to do. And you get these different surfaces that don't have one note to them. They look different in different lighting and whatever, different angles even. So anyway, that being said, yeah, don't struggle with any of these things. Just ask, and we'll get you straightened out like in like 2 minutes, or something like that. And, just be ready for having a lot of fun. All right, I used to do silk screening. That's cool, but nothing elaborate. Single color projects, oh, got it. I love silk screening. I love the whole thing about it. I don't know if I liked cleaning the screens after, but yeah, I love that whole process. We used to do all kinds of things in a graphic arts class in high school. Silk screening. We had letter presses, horizontal cameras. And that teacher would always say, hey, you guys, you should really appreciate this because no one else has this. And we're like, yeah, I'm sure. But when I got to college and, taking, in art classes there, it's like I asked people and like no one had all that type of stuff that they got to do, but it was like so much fun. Yeah. And it was a great, I don't know, whatever, learning experience. And all in high school, everything I needed to know in life, I learned in high school. When you turned off some of the studio lights, the holographic colors, yeah, they really popped up. Yeah, having it too much, having it from two different angles was washing out the colors. But look at this right here. Like, even when I like change the, the shadows like this, it's like some of these colors are a lot brighter because I have so many lights in here. It was washing it all out, especially on the printable vinyl sticker paper, because the printable vinyl sticker paper, this is holographic cardstock. Okay, now here without all these lights on here, they look exactly the same. I don't know if you can tell, but this one's a little bit duller, okay, than this one. You can see that, yeah, the colors are a little bit more dynamic on this one. This one right here, it probably has some of the similar things that are printed onto this cardstock, okay? But this one right here, yeah, you can really see it when I go like this. You see that right there? It's duller. It's because this has that emulsion coating on there, and that's the thing that your inkjet printer inks are sticking to. But it kind of mutes this one out, okay, a little bit. It's hard to say that this thing's like muted, but it really is in comparison to this. But yeah, so when I have too many lights on this with that coating on there, that emulsion coating, it dulls it out. So yeah, flipping off those lights really brought out the whatever the true intensity of them. So what you're seeing on my screen right now is pretty much what I can see here live, like right in front of me. But I'm seeing a different color than what you're seeing on screen because this camera is looking at it from directly above. I'm seeing it from this like 45-degree angle where I am, so it's a little bit more of like a bluish tone. Anyway, that's the beauty of it. Okay. It's fun stuff, huh, Caroline? Let's see. Felicia, when you turned off some of the, okay, yeah. All right, so anyways, thanks so much for checking out the card today. I love those colors right in there. So those colors right in the background remind me of rainbow sherbet ice creams. So everyone go out and treat yourselves to that ice cream tonight. Go and buy it at your local store or go to like a Baskin Robbins or whatever nearby that might have it. So that's what we're going to do for every scene that we do here on the Friday Night Lives, whatever color scheme it kind of looks like. That's the ice cream that you're going to eat that night, okay? All right, folks. Good night, everyone. Thanks again for checking it out.